The colourful pastel world of Notting Hill, afternoon tea and scones in South Kensington, feeding the squirrels in Hyde Park, and having a lovely
Excuse me, sir. Sorry to bother you. You're not supposed to feed any squirrels. Sorry, but this is my video. Hello, super motivated students. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? Bienvenido a otro vídeo de Amigos Ingleses. Esta es una práctica de listening en colaboración con CAMBLY. Si todavía no conoces CAMBLY, es una plataforma en la que puedes encontrar a un profesor nativo para practicar tu inglés con un solo clic y las 24 horas del día. Sounds good, doesn't it? Well, don't just take my word for it. Hoy mismo puedes probar CAMBLY con la clase que te vamos a regalar de 20 minutos. Y todo lo que tienes que hacer es introducir el código AmigosCAMBLY en cambly.com o también puedes descargarte la app. Puedes tener una clase con el profesor que tú elijas, ¿ok? Así que ya no hay excusas para no mejorar tu speaking porque no tienes un amigo guiri o no te van bien los horarios de la academia de tu barrio, ¿alright? Quédate hasta el final del vídeo si quieres entrar en el sorteo de una clase de 1 hora en CAMBLY. Amazing.
Partying on the River Thames, going on a spending spree in Oxford Street, feeding the pigeons in Trafalgar Square.
You don't feed the pigeons! Everybody knows that! Now, we all know that real life is not that Instagrammable, is it? London, as you know, is a highly populated city and is also one of the most expensive cities in the world. So it can be wonderful, it is wonderful, we've been there many times, but I'm sure living there has its downsides as well. Lo mejor que podemos hacer es preguntarle a alguien que viva allí. Y como CAMBLY tiene profesores de inglés en todo el mundo, ¿sabes qué? He encontrado a un profesor que vive justo en el centro de Londres. Come on, it's connecting. It's connecting now. Hello, Mark.
Hi.
Hi everybody, my name is Mark and I live in London. I'm going to talk to you a little bit today.
Okay, students, question 1. Where is Mark from and how long has he lived in London?
I moved from Ireland. I'm originally from Ireland and I moved here, about 5 years ago.
Question 2. In which part of the city does Mark live?
So, whereabouts in London do you live, Mark?
So I live in East London. I live in the borough of Hackney. So there's 33 different boroughs, districts in London, and I live in Hackney.
Question 3. How does Mark describe his neighbourhood? He uses 5 adjectives.
And Hackney's generally quite young, quite a kind of trendy, hipster kind of area of London. So it's quite a nice, exciting, young part of the city.
Nice. Yeah, we've been there, haven't we? We
Yeah.
had some friends who used to live there.
Is it a nice neighbourhood to live in London?
Yeah, it's a great part of the city. It's close to the city centre, so it's about 20-30 minutes to get to the city centre, but it's a little bit away from the very, very dense, very busy centre of London.
Question 4. What unusual accommodation can be found in Hackney?
Remember the canals with the boats?
Yeah, lots and lots of people live on the little canal boats. It's a popular and cheap way to live, actually.
Yeah, especially in London.
Question 5. What do many people do on Sundays in East London?
There's the Columbia Road flower market, which is very busy. And on a Sunday, everybody goes there to get their flowers. It's a ritual here in East London.
Have you ever lived in any other cities or countries?
Yeah, so I grew up in Ireland. So I'm from the west coast of Ireland. So my family live in the west of Ireland, out very dramatic part of the world, mountains and cliffs and very wild kind of scenery. But when I was 17, I moved to Dublin, which is the capital of Ireland, and I lived there for many years, which is a really nice city as well. It's much smaller than London, but it's a very nice, compact European city.
Question 6. What are the two main reasons Mark moved to London? Why did you decide to move to London?
I think we're very lucky to have London so close. London is such a huge global city and there's so many opportunities. There's so many things available here. And for people living in Europe, it's quite easy to get here and it's quite easy to start a new life here. So one reason was because it was easy. It was much easier than trying to move to New York or Australia, where it becomes more complicated, a longer journey. And also really just for the amount of opportunities. I have lots of different jobs and all of those jobs are very popular and there's lots of opportunities for those jobs here in London.
Question 7. How many jobs does Mark have and what are they?
So what do you do for a living?
Good question. Complicated question. So
okay.
I am a freelancer, which is very common in London, which means I work for myself and I have lots of different jobs. So I do maybe 5 different things. So I teach English. I do that a few times per week. I also have a background in architecture. So I work part-time as a curator in the world of architecture. And then my other jobs are in the world of entertainment. So I work as a musician and a singer and a comedian. And so I play piano and I perform in theatres and bars and clubs and things at nighttime. So lots of different jobs.
My goodness. You're also a tour guide, aren't you? You missed that one.
I forgot.
We read that one in your profile. Wow.
Yeah, so that's connected to my architecture work. So I work as a tour guide, bringing people around London to explain how the city works and to visit interesting buildings and sites.
Question 8. What stops many people from moving to London?
It's a real shame that many people completely disregard the option of moving to London because they think it's impossible. They think it's just too expensive and it's not an option. But I always think there's 8.6 million people living in London and most of those people are not rich people. They're just normal people and we all manage to survive.
Question 9. How do many Londoners reduce the cost of living?
So when you're renting an apartment, it will be more expensive than other cities in Europe or other parts of the world. But you might have to just compromise a little bit. And rather than having your own apartment, you might have to share with other people. And that will make it a little bit more affordable. So I'm 30 years old and I share with friends. That's very common in London for adults to share with other adults. So if you want to live in the very centre of London, you will spend thousands of pounds a week trying to have an apartment. It's impossible. But if you move slightly out of the centre, like where I am, or even further, it becomes more affordable. So you have to be clever.
Question 10. How much does a trip on the underground cost?
For transport, the metro, the underground, is expensive. Every trip can be maybe £3 or £3.50. It depends how far you're going.
Question 11. What should you avoid doing if you want a coffee?
Definitely coffee and dinner and cakes and treats are expensive. But once you're here for a little while, you'll realise going to the coffee shop in the middle of Piccadilly Circus is a bad idea because it's going to cost £5 for coffee. But if you go to your local coffee shop, it'll be £2.50 or, it's more affordable. So it's all about coming here and figuring out how to make things more affordable.
Is the weather as bad as everyone thinks in London?
No, it's not bad at all. I'm here today. It's something like 18 degrees, or it's really warm today. It hasn't rained here for about a week. It's fine. It probably rains really about once a week.
Question 12. What should you do if it rains?
Everybody in London is prepared for the rain. You just have a small umbrella in your bag and that's it. And if it rains, it's no problem. You take your umbrella and you carry on.
Question 13. Where can you find the worst weather in the UK?
And London especially is better than other parts of the UK. Most of the really bad weather hits the north and hits the west. The rain is coming in from the Atlantic Ocean. So by the time the clouds get to London, it's not that bad. So really, it's not a problem. We all survive, and it's part of the character of London. There's actually an atmosphere. It's quite nice when you're walking around London and it's raining, and then you go inside and you get some tea and cake, and it's cozy.
Question 14. How does Mark describe the weather in London? And when the sun comes out, people appreciate it more, right? They don't take the sun for granted in London.
They go nuts.
Yeah, so we always talk about the weather is changeable. So it's not the same. So one day it's raining and then tomorrow it's sunny. So it gives us something to talk about, and we talk about the weather a lot. So it's a big part of the culture here to talk about the weather.
What's the best way to move around London?
So I think definitely the bus.
Question 15. What are the advantages of taking the bus in London?
Bus will take you everywhere. It's a huge network. The bus is £1.50 and you can go anywhere in the city and take as many buses as you like for an hour, and it still only costs £1.50. And for the bus, you get to see the city. When you're driving through the city, you get to actually understand how the different neighborhoods connect compared to going underground, and you feel very lost.
You're lucky you get the front part of the top on the double-decker bus.
You take that for granted when you live here, but it's a very unique thing for London to have the two layers on the bus.
Yeah, I always fight for that seat.
Yeah.
When I'm in London, I always go there.
Yeah, me too.
With the
elbows
out the way.
And a lot of people now in London are cycling. It's become very, very popular and much easier now to cycle. The council, the mayor has arranged for lots of good cycle lanes all through the city, and you can hire those short-term bikes for 20 minutes and they're quite cheap.
How would you describe a typical Londoner?
That's a hard question. First of all, I think the vast majority of people who live in London are actually not from London. A huge percentage of the people in the city have come from somewhere else. Most of my friends are from other parts of England or the UK or other countries in the world. And once you live in London for a few weeks, you can call yourself a Londoner. I'm a Londoner now.
Question 16. Londoners have a reputation for being?
There can be a reputation that Londoners are a little bit rude sometimes. And I would say that Londoners are definitely very busy people. Everyone has a very busy life like me. Everyone is working very hard, and often people are stressed. But it's the same as any big city. It's the same if you go to New York or any big city. When you have thousands of people living together, people often move quite fast. But when you live here and when you actually make friends, people are very, very nice. People are very friendly. They're very open to making friends and to connecting and learning about different cultures and having new experiences. So I would say on the street, sometimes people can seem a little bit rude, but actually if you live here, you'll understand why. It's because everything is kind of fast and busy.
Question 17. What special celebration does Mark mention, and when will it take place? Can you think of any fun facts about London?
The most fascinating thing about London is it's 2,000 years old, and there is actually a specific date when London began. It was 43 AD. That's when the Romans came here. And when you walk around the city, you can actually see things from 2,000 years ago. There's old walls and there's old little bits of amphitheaters and ruins from 2,000 years ago. It's actually, I think, maybe that's really boring, but I think it's fascinating to think how many people have lived here in those 2,000 years, which is very different to somewhere like New York or Los Angeles, or, they're quite young cities, but London is very, very old. So I think that's maybe one of the most interesting things. In 20 years' time, we will have a huge celebration for London to celebrate the 2,000 year anniversary. So if we're all still here, we can try and think about what that will be. That will be a massive event for London.
Question 18. What makes London a relatively safe city?
as soon as I walk out the door of my house, wherever I'm going in London, I'm probably being filmed. Most likely I'm being filmed, whether it's on the street or in the train station or on the bus. Most likely someone is watching me, and that's a good thing. It means that I'm safe, and it means if anything happens, there's a record. So if I have an accident or if something bad happens, we're safe. And you'll notice in London there aren't that many police walking up and down the streets. You don't very often see the police in local areas, and it's because they don't have to. Everything is being watched by cameras, and it's a very efficient way of keeping the city safe.
What are 3 things that you hate about London? If you haven't.
Plenty.
It's a long list.
It's a long list, and you'll notice this is something that Londoners love to complain about London.
Question 19. What 3 things do Londoners love to complain about, and why?
We love to complain about the underground. It's very crowded in the morning and in the evening for rush hour. So that's very stressful, and that can be difficult. We do like to complain about the cost of rent in particular. And the third thing is it is very loud and crowded and busy, and sometimes that can be stressful, sometimes.
And question 20. What 3 things does Mark adore about London?
Can you tell us about 3 things that you really adore about living in London?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think first thing is the freedom. You can be whoever you want, and you can, as long as it's legal, you can do whatever you want. People are very open-minded in London. It's a big city, and there are people here from all over the world. So whatever culture you are, whatever religion, whatever you want to do, you can pretty much do it, and probably find other people who have similar background or similar interests. The variety of entertainment is something that's really special in London. There's so many gigs and comedy shows and exhibitions and huge museums and galleries, and they're all free. All of our big museums are free. And then the third thing is probably the mix of history and heritage, as well as this very futuristic modern cities.
Isabel, can we move to London?
Sorry? You sold it really well.
Come. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Great to meet you, Mark. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
I hope you enjoyed it. Sabes que te hemos dejado una clase gratis. Si aún no lo has probado, utiliza el código amigos CAMBLY y tienes automáticamente 20 minutos de crédito para usar con el profesor que tú quieras. Cientos de super motivated English students de amigos ingleses ya se han apuntado y están mejorando su inglés leaps and bounds. Y una cosa que casi se me olvida, que tenemos una clase de 60 minutos que estamos sorteando, y para conseguirla solamente tienes que responder a esta pregunta.
The vast majority of people who live in London are actually not from London.
Good luck, students! Déjame la respuesta en los comentarios y en una semana vamos a anunciar al ganador aquí debajo. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye bye!